welcome everybody to the Crypto Crew.
Hey, how's it going this morning?
What's going on, everybody?
Doing good. Hey, we got a good show today. You know, last week we had kind of an upset with Bitcoin because the week before that, what was it? 5,000?
5,000, yep.
Yep.
A little bit over 5,000 actually, but
yeah, it tipped over 5,000, and as you well know, everybody was saying, "See, told you, it's going to keep going, it's going to keep going." And then all of a sudden, boom.
Yep. Rug got pulled out from under.
Well, that's because of what I called last week, and I'll call it again. It's a press release economy.
Exactly.
And no matter if it's the stock market or if it's Bitcoin valuations, it's all about the press releases. And we've got another bunch of press releases coming out. But the big one last week was who with the
China.
CEO, was it? Well, it was China. Well, first of all,
China going on with their way of controlling or regulating,
trying to regulate,
saying that they're concerned about their people using Bitcoin. We want to protect them. We don't want it to get out of hand, so we want to regulate it. And that's always the case of government. If they can get their hands in or get their foot in the door on anything, they want to be able to control it. And we got to remember that China is a communist country, and that's their focus, is to control their people. Now they don't have enough women. They don't have enough babies.
Oh, yeah, for a long time they controlled the births of women to men.
So
what did they do? Just abort all those?
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
Of course, that's what they did.
Absolutely.
That's disgusting.
They were aborting.
They were aborting
female babies.
And when you had a test that you had a male baby, then you could have a baby. But now they don't have enough women. That's just like men. We try to control things, and we don't know all the. We need to let nature take its course in some things.
Just let it
ride.
ride.
The law of unintended consequences.
Yeah, the law of unintended consequences. There you go.
Exactly.
You know, that's something we ought to talk about is government control of Bitcoin if it's possible. But before we do, let's talk about that other press release that came out, and it was Jamie Dimon of
CEO.
Yeah, CEO of the JP Morgan company. I was going to say one of the other banks, but anyway, JP Morgan, and he said it's a fraud.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, he was on a news service at some show somewhere, and they interviewed him, and he did it. And we showed it last week, but I think it's worth showing again.
Yeah,
you know, because it's kind of the sky is falling, you know, and it's all fraud. So let's go ahead and watch that, and then we'll be back and we'll comment on it.
That'll work.
Bitcoin was a fraud.
Yeah.
Why is Bitcoin a fraud?
Yeah. So separate blockchain, which is a technology, from Bitcoin, the currency. And now there are multiple currencies, and so I'm talking about not Bitcoin per se. I'm talking about currencies. You know, the first and the reason, and I'm not saying go short because I know Jim Chanos was up there. You know, Bitcoin can sell $100,000 of Bitcoin before it goes down. So there's not advice on what you do. My daughter bought some Bitcoin and it went up, and she thinks she's a genius now. But it's I did refer to it as like the tulip bulb crisis of the 1700s, or whatever. But here's the reason. Governments, the first thing they do is form a currency. They like to control the currency. They control it through a central bank. They also like to know who has it, where it is, where it's going. Okay, and you just saw China just is closing down the Bitcoin exchanges. And all I ever said is that at Bitcoin, the bigger these things get, the more governments, right now, they look at it as a novelty. You know, they love in Washington, talk about, oh, this is technology, we love technology. Wait until someone gets hurt. Wait until it's used for illicit purposes, which it is somewhat used for illicit purposes. They close it down. That's my point. So it's not, you can argue and I also said there's a good reason for it. If you're in Venezuela or Ecuador or North Korea, you're better off probably using Bitcoin than using their currency. That can't possibly be true in the United States, unless you're speculating. And that isn't a reason to say something has value, because other people are going to speculate. That's tulip. And that's what I was saying. So I don't think, and also, like I said, the other reason to close down is because it's used for illicit purposes. And so it's just not a real thing, and eventually it'll be the emperor without clothes.
So there you go. You know, he didn't quite completely diss the entire process of cryptocurrency because he talked about the blockchain. He likes the blockchain.
He loves it.
Oh, yeah, he thinks that's great. Matter of fact, if you look on the Ethereum partner page of all the different companies that have bought into Ethereum, JP Morgan, bigger than Dallas, right there.
Well, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, and I kind of talked about it too, man. He wants the dog without the bark. and you
Yeah.
can't get that. You can't get that. So they love they don't like Bitcoin because Bitcoin is going against their.
Can't control it.
Yeah, they can't control
That's
it.
the whole thing with Bitcoin. It's kind of like the gold. It's pure.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't have human.
You can't manipulate it.
You can't manipulate
it. It has no manipulation into it. So that's frustrating to that because banks manipulate. They manipulate.
That's what they. Well, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact, in this situation, J.P. Morgan during this time, I just read this week, they bought at the low point, which went down to 29 in that range.
Yep.
They bought 300 million Bitcoin dollars worth of Bitcoin.
Exactly.
J.P. Morgan coming here, he is dissing Bitcoin.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, and he can't get in trouble for that. If he did the same thing on a stock deal, he would be arrested for inside trading and put in the big house.
But then, like we talked about this before, he is trained to do what he's doing. He is trained to, his allegiance is to banking.
Yeah, and
everything
to
that banking
that
is
system,
involved.
that entire
so,
system.
So I don't expect him to talk about anything else but to push back Bitcoin because Bitcoin is getting into their pocket. We talked about that before, that the first industry that's going to be disrupted by Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is banking, blockchain, and what we talked about before. He's not against Bitcoin. I mean, he's against Bitcoin, but he loves blockchain because it's the technology behind blockchain that removes, if they gather onto the blockchain, it removes their back office. So they're going to save a ton of
their
money.
back office, which is the credit cards
There you
and
go.
the fees
All
and
that.
all of that
That's
type
the
of stuff.
Yeah, that's
Because
the
it's going to
major.
reduce their own.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Man, that could be a scary meeting.
So
you
yeah,
could
it's
be
a
in
game
about that.
changer for banking.
Exactly.
It removes the need for them for internet services, just like we talked about Amazon. Amazon made 130 billion, and 3% of that is merchant services. So they would save over $1 billion if they went through, if they started accepting Bitcoin in the blockchain scenario, which more than likely they're going to do. It's just a matter of time. More people use it.
You could sell everything on Amazon at an even no profit and just pick up the
There you
fees
go.
and make a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. And think about it. The only way you can do a transaction with Amazon, you're using MasterCard, Visa, or you're using your checking account. PayPal, something that you're doing that's it's a digital
And
transaction.
it's a banking transaction.
Exactly.
There you go.
There's a
So-
third party.
Third
medium
party, man.
Where by using Bitcoin, you're putting yourself in a position to where that third party goes away. Oh, really?
So you don't need me anymore.
That's correct. No wonder I don't like you.
Exactly.
You're the middleman between us two.
Exactly. So
Exactly.
you're gonna hurt me you're gonna hurt me where it hurts the most, and that's in the pocket. So he in terms of their stock and all that, it's gonna affect all that. The cryptocurrency is a new exchange.
What's a disruptor?
It's a disruptor.
It's a disruptor to everything because it's fundamental in the area of computer science, which all business is, platformed on their data.
There you go.
So the data and the machines that they use to communicate with each other, they're all based on internet technologies.
Exactly.
And it's such an internet technology that's going to change everything.
It's going to change everything.
They're scared to death.
It's going to change every's way of getting
And
information.
then he says,
out.
it's not, doesn't have value, doesn't a fraud. Let me show you this here. If it's a fraud, look at this screen here. You got in 2009,
1 cent.
1 cent was what Bitcoin was worth.
Less than a penny, actually.
Yeah, less than a penny. Yeah. Now over here, 2017, that was earlier this year.
Correct.
Today it is, I'd say,
3,700.
let's take a look. Yeah, there you go. Let's make the screen a little bigger so everybody can see it. I can't make it bigger, I guess. Oh, there you go. So Bitcoin is 37.87 right now.
And you know what, guys? If Bitcoin wasn't an issue, why are they talking about it?
Well, there you go.
If
There
it
you
wasn't
go.
an issue, why is it even being discussed?
So,
Well, it's like the old saying, if you throw a rock into a crowd, the only one that's going to scream is the one that gets hit.
That's going to
there
get hit.
you go.
And that's it.
So,
That's good logic.
So,
You throw a rock in the crowd, the one that's going to scream gets hit. And they got hit.
And
So
they got hit.
banks
They
are
got
getting
a big hit.
They're getting
yeah,
hit.
big hit. But to understand that Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, because it's not just Bitcoin, it's the cryptocurrency industry as a whole, that is less than 1% of what's going on in the economy. Less than 1%. It's not now it's not a big deal, but there's also a saying is, when is the best time to uproot a tree? When it first comes through the ground.
Ah.
Okay.
Wow.
You don't wait till a tree is 40 feet tall. You don't.
It's got its
You wait when it starts just coming up out of the ground. That's the best time
Now
to pull that tree
they say
out.
that the tipping point for people to adopt this in large numbers is going to be early next year, 2018. I've heard this from a number of different pundits about how it's growing exponentially.
Absolutely.
The acceptance of Bitcoin is.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you, they're on a short fuse. So you know, Jamie Dimon coming out and saying something is only, I believe, the one of hundreds now that are going to start chirping the same song. They see it coming.
Yeah, but the thing is, what they don't want to do is that what you're hearing in regards to the negativity about cryptocurrency as a whole, that's not in the mainstream media.
No, it's not.
You're not seeing it on. You're not seeing it on Fox News or CNBC or NBC or CBS. You're not seeing it in the late night news broadcast on the regular TV programs. It's on the internet programs. It's on the blogs. It's on the YouTube channels and things of that nature. Because once it goes mainstream in the sense of actually being in the public media platform, all of a sudden everybody now is aware of it, and that's what they don't want to happen. They're trying to get a hold, the banking institutions are trying to get a hold of those who are actually using it today.
They're trying to kill it off.
Yeah, and so they're working on that platform where we basically get our information from. Whereas if you sit there if you sit at home and you watch television, you can watch it for 24 hours a day.
It's going to be about 1% of the time you'll see something about Bitcoin.
Maybe.
Because it's only about 1%
maybe.
adoption rate at
If you
this
think
point.
about it, most people don't know anything about cryptocurrency. So if they don't know anything about it, it's because they don't see it on their TV, because that's where most people get their information. However, when you have people who are on the internet and who are in this industry, we're not getting our information by watching mainstream media TV or programming or radio or any of that.
Now, however, Jamie, he did go on a national news to diss it.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the stuff that they're getting, that 1% of the information they're getting that is about Bitcoin or about cryptocurrency, is coming from a negative point of view.
Right.
Fraud.
Exactly.
They're going to talk about criminal activities.
Exactly.
All of those
The
reports will come through. The dark web, all of that will come
Exactly.
through.
Yeah.
But the good side of it, the technology side of it, the opportunities, they're not talking
They're
about
not talking about
No, because
that.
they're coming through the back door.
Yeah,
coming
they're taking and scraping it up before you get there.
Trying to position themselves, and then they're going to say, this is a wonderful ideal. Like we said, blockchain is, they love the blockchain.
And then how can I get into it? Oh, it's too late. A few years ago, it was big. You missed it.
Exactly. So we should expect this. Those we expect the banks to push back and tell you to stay in the dark about it. Don't mess with the Bitcoin. Don't get involved with it, because it's bad for you.
It's bad for
It's
you.
a bad thing for you to
Bad
get
thing.
involved. You're going to lose your
Bad
money.
Bitcoin.
And still keep your money in the bank and wait all year to get your 1/4%.
Yeah.
That's what they want you to do. Stay in the bank, keep your money in the bank. That's what it is.
Yeah. So Jamie Dimon, I'm sorry. We're going to investigate this and see how much Bitcoin we can get in the meantime.
Yeah.
And so here's a couple other things that we need to look at is the coins that are being traded, and everything is up right now, by the way. Let's go ahead and, that's not the one. Let's look at our browser. You see here, you got Bitcoin, it's up.
Yep.
You got Ethereum. These are the coins.
The top 10.
Yeah, if you're not involved in cryptocurrencies, and you already know where this website is, but those who aren't, you need to tune into this and look at it from time to time to see where these Bitcoins are going.
Absolutely.
Bitcoins, not Bitcoins, but cryptocurrencies are up and down, up and down. They're currencies that have not found their equilibrium yet.
Correct.
You know, and people through either news release like this with Jamie Dimon, or through what their friends say or whatever, you know, it effects. Or China, that was another thing last week. China wanted to try to shut down all the. I think they still plan to
shut down some exchanges.
Exchanges. Exchanges are places you can go in with American dollars or any other fiat, and then buy a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency, and then use that to trade on the that exchange. And or you can take Bitcoin and exchange it into over here Ethereum, you know, or Bitcoin Cash or Ripple or Dash, Litecoin. Litecoin is right at $50. It for 6 months ago it was only 35.
There you go.
So they all are going up, but they go up and down through the process of
people using
them and press releases.
Get more familiar with it and everything.
So it's going to be volatile. And there's an upside to that if you're a trader and you get into the exchanges and you start trading, because you can see those natural dips, buy it, and then wait till it rises, then sell it. So you're making 10 or 15% on your investment.
Right, exactly.
And that's great. So the website you were just looking at, if you take your bits on paper down, it's CoinMarketCap. Okay, CoinMarketCap.com. That will give you this chart that you can see what's happening with all the cryptocurrencies.
But you know what, guys? The CoinMarketCap is similar to the stock market exchange.
Yeah, you can see where the
you see the stocks, you see the bonds, all that are listed. This
and where they're valued at the present time.
Same kind of thing.
It's the same thing.
And that just adds to the fact that the stock market exchange is watching the cryptocurrency exchange.
Sure, they are.
Because they're in competition now.
Exactly.
Well, what if they wanted? What if somebody wanted to? The government, like China, are they really going to be able to effectively block the use of Bitcoin? Think about it. They're closing down exchanges. That's going to cause a little bit of ripple, you know. But can they actually shut it down?
Can you keep a man from a woman? No.
No.
You can slow it down.
You can slow it down a little bit, yeah.
You put barriers up and stuff like that.
Chastity belts and all kinds of things. You know?
But he's going to find her, and she's going to be around somewhere to allow him to.
Well, it's kind of like the forbidden fruit. You know, you tell somebody you can't have this, and what do they want?
Human nature.
I'm going to go find out about it. What's
they're going to want to get
it. What is so bad about it? We can go and find out. And so that's basically what
curiosity will reign.
And that's what governments do. Governments try to slow things down, and they call it regulation, but it's more control.
Well, in a sense, here's what's happened. You've got exchanges are centralized. Now, the cryptocurrency itself is decentralized, and what we mean by that is we don't need a middleman.
Right.
I can send you money from me to you.
Yeah.
We don't
I don't
have
need
to
a
check
broker
with anybody.
either.
You don't need a broker.
Yeah.
Just go straight value
Boom.
from me to you. But when you have an exchange, because you're having to use somebody else's money to give you money for the the value you receive and all of that, you have to have this client server I talk about all the time. You got us, the clients, and there's a server up here called an exchange, and we go up there and see if we can't exchange our Bitcoin for either dollars or dollars for Bitcoins. So that third party, the government might be able to control.
Get in on it.
Okay, so because they have a location, bricks and mortar location, they can go in there, shut the door down, and that exchange won't operate anymore. So I understand the ones in China that have they're telling to get out of town, basically, or shut them down. They're all moving to Japan. Well, great for Japan. I mean, China's shooting themselves in the foot because they're not getting that commerce going through their country. It's going to go to Japan. Japan will benefit. Exactly.
There you go, and that's why it went down because of China. Because I think it was like 40% of Bitcoin activity was in China, but that's not going to stop Bitcoin.
No.
Nothing's going to stop.
And you can get on a different. It'll just create an underground internet.
The vacuum.
There'll be an underground internet going on in China where somebody paid off an official, right? And they're going to turn their head, and this little server room's going to going to be the room that's going to take care of it, and they're going to hook into Japan. Now, here's another thing to think about. What's the alternative, or why doesn't government like Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies? And they don't. Because they can't tax them.
They can't tax it, man. That's
can't
control and
control it.
tax.
They can't control
Control and tax.
So it is in direct competition. It's almost like Confederate money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not
Talk
Confederate.
about counterfeit.
Counterfeit money.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Counterfeit money. It's like counterfeit money, and they can't control it. It's not within their little economy where they scrape off the taxes from it.
Right.
It's independent on its own,
Right.
and they hate that. So, but if there is an exchange, think about it. There may be a possibility, so kicking the exchange out is stupid. What China did was a knee-jerk reaction, and they're not making their people happy with them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just like any other government. They can be overthrown by an unhappy populace.
Sure.
And if they make these people unhappy enough, that's not good for them.
Well, they're coming down with the hammer.
They're coming down with a hammer.
That's basically
and when
what it
you're a
is.
hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Boom.
You know what I mean? So there you go. That looks like a nail. We just hammer it.
Slow them down. Slow
Well,
them down.
The exchange is actually a great thing for a government. Because, of course, it may get out of hand, but they can say, well, if you're going to operate and be a licensed exchange with rules, then you're going to have to pay a fee. Okay, and that fee is going to be based upon the volume, and they'll have to come up with some kind of criteria. And then there'll be regulation, and then the companies will have to have lobbyists that will tell the government that basically you can't tax us that much because we're losing money to exchanges in Japan, because people are not using the exchanges that are here in the U.S.
It's the same old thing.
So they're going to have to, the yin and the yang is going to happen
It's the
there.
same old thing.
Remember back in the summer, the IRS went after Coinbase.
Yeah.
That's right.
Remember? And they were trying to literally pull Coinbase off as being an exchange because they were saying, we have no way of knowing who the people are who are using your service. We don't know anything about them. We don't know how much money there's going through. So what they were trying to do was to get Coinbase to start revealing the names of the people who were using Coinbase as an exchange to purchase Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies. And they also were saying, we want to know their social security numbers. We want to have an idea where all this money is going from one place. And Coinbase said, no, we're not going to do this. So it was a long story short, it went to court, and it was finally decided that Coinbase could keep the anonymity of the people who are using their service. But this is going to be something that's going to continue to where the government, our government, is going to continue to try and get into the exchanges that are being offered here in the United States to get them to start revealing as much information as possible of the individuals who are using it, so that the government can start saying, oh, well, you made what, $25,000 this last year? Oh, well, hey, guess what? You need to pay us. It's called tax.
Well, they do that with all the investment funds that you use for retirement.
Sure.
So when you take them out, they already have the investment house going to give them their 25% or 20% right off the top.
Right.
And I guess expectation that you're going to make some money and have to pay a tax. They'll pay it back to you if you show them that you lost money. But, but still, they are in control, and they're going to have to do the same thing with cryptocurrencies.
That's what they're trying to do.
Now, I don't think we are going to get away with not having some of these mechanisms controlled by government. There's going to be either an international consortium, if they have to get exchanges to all agree to do something. It's not going to happen quick.
No.
Because right now is a window of opportunity for us all.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
But I think that will go down. And I think they have some jurisdiction in some areas. I think I shared this last week. You can't let these investment people who are going to use this platform of cryptocurrency to take advantage of ignorance or need or that type of thing, and have grandma give her whole life savings into this from a slick talking salesman.
Right.
Well, that's how the government tries to get in there, though, by using that as a fear tactic.
That's a fear tactic, but it does happen.
Sure it does.
And the way they do securities, they're in this country, as you know, it's highly regulated. You just can't go and invest. I wouldn't even qualify for most investments that are, well, not IPOs. You can get involved because they've already been to that point. But the investments prior to becoming an IPO, you have to be a qualified investor.
Right.
You make a certain amount of money, have a certain amount of money in the bank, and that way you keep protection from grandma taking her life savings and putting it in there. You know,
that's to sell securities, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And so that's now that's where you get into ICOs in our area of cryptocurrency. ICO is the same thing as IPO, but they use a token, and then you own part of the company in a sense.
Like a stock.
It's like a stock.
It's the new exchange.
It's the new exchange
it's
stock.
It's the cryptocurrency exchange
stock
versus the stock exchange.
Yeah.
And, you know,
the token exchange.
It's just semantics and stuff in it. It's competition, man. We're at war.
But there's no regulation for it now. So if you can get involved in one, if you can get involved in one, you can actually set yourself up.
Sure, you can.
If it's the right technology and company that is producing that coin, and you get in on the inside and own all those tokens, man, you're
you're getting crazy returns in cryptocurrency, and that's something that most people will never get those kind of returns in the stock market.
Exactly.
Because then people aren't putting calls and puts on their 401k. They can't afford to do it.
Well, that's where they make money.
That's where they're making the money.
Calls and puts.
Exactly. But who's doing that? You're not doing that on your 401k.
Major investors are.
Exactly. So you can turn around and take $100 in Bitcoin and have it go to 300
in a matter of days.
In a matter of days.
A matter of months.
Turn it into another currency like Tether, and you have that value in Tether at $1.
There you go.
You buy a lot of Tether, wait till it dips.
There you go.
Then turn back around, convert it back over to Bitcoin.
And they see that. It says, man, okay, they taking billions out. That's what's happening. Cryptocurrency is taking billions out.
Well, they took $300 million.
There you go.
With JP Morgan Group took $300 million just last week.
Yeah, they
put it in Bitcoin.
They watching that. So that's
and you know what? If they'd have been really smart, they'd have done it. And if we'd have been really smart, we'd have done it back in 2010.
Yep.
Yeah, really. We'd probably be doing a show on a cruise ship or something.
Well,
like
we wouldn't be talking about this very much. We'd have a show maybe once a month and talk about it.
It would be the lives of the rich and famous.
See,
actually.
so
there you go.
That's the opportunity of cryptocurrency that they don't want.
So how else could they shut it down? Could they could shut down
well,
the exchange?
Ban it, like
maybe.
You said. I've got a list here of some of the ways in which governments can attempt to shut it down. So we've already kind of discussed it a little bit. The first one is to ban it.
Right.
Just like what China just recently did in banning all transactions dealing with Bitcoin. The second one,
you can be Jamie Dimon and threaten your employees that if they trade in Bitcoin, you'll get fired. That's what he said, you know.
Yeah.
Is that ridiculous or what?
Yeah.
Who has what
business, right does he have?
What business owner have the right to tell you what to do with your money?
Exactly.
Whatever I do with my money after hours,
exactly.
is none of his
I
business.
didn't use J.P. Morgan's money.
No, if I used my own salary and went out and bought Bitcoin, invested in it.
Exactly.
Now I could say if you're using somebody's portfolio there at J.P. Morgan, if they have a restriction on it, you work for the man. You better do what he asks you to do.
That's it. That's it. Next one would be stop the exchanges. We talked about that, trying to prevent them from operating. Stop the miners, the mining.
Oh yeah, that would be a thing. But that doesn't work either, because you shut down. You find out who these miners are, and you track them down. You shut down their little computer. By the time you've went through all of that, there's 20 other miners.
It's going to shift, man.
It's going to shift. Yeah, they plugged in their own machines.
It's going to shift.
So there's they can't do it. And the blockchain is not.
Oh, and that's the power of the internet, because it's ubiquitous.
Exactly.
You can't cut it off. Well, certain areas they can try to, but it's just going to create an opportunity for someone else.
It's impossible to break the. Now they say there's quantum computers that can figure out what that encryption is, but by the time that happens, you've already got quantum computers creating more.
Exactly.
It's
elusive, man. You're always going to be
cryptonology.
Yeah.
Would you call it cryptonology?
Yeah.
That would be even more quantum, quantum-sized cryptology.
Yep. Someone's always building a better mousetrap.
They are. So
always.
I don't think they can stop it.
They can't stop it.
The genie is out of the bag.
They can't stop it.
The genie are out of the bottle.
They can only slow it down or give you the perception that it's been stopped. But it's not. It's here.
So what is you and a guy like, we're just regular guys, what do we do? What is a strategy for folks out there to get involved in this new economy and take advantage of some of the opportunities? This thing is got no end in sight for the Bitcoin cryptocurrency for sure. It's right around 4,000 now. It's not like everybody's got 4,000 in their back pocket they can buy a Bitcoin. You can buy it in little pieces. It's 5%,
You do
10%.
fractional.
Yeah, fractionally buy it. But what would you say? What would your advice to somebody be as far as if they wanted to? And of course, we're not here as financial advisors. We're just talking as regular guys. What might be a strategy? Let's put it that way. What might be a strategy for somebody to get some Bitcoin and ride this opportunity in the future?
I'll kick it off by saying, with anything that's new to an individual, the first thing to do is to obviously get a little bit more education, get comfortable with what you're doing. If you ever watch Shark Tank, you'll notice that every one of those investors will look at the proposal that's being given to them, and oftentimes they'll say, you know what, as good as this sounds, I don't know anything about it. I've never been into it. I don't have any background in it, so I'm out. Simple as that.
So some of you out there might take that
as
That
an
approach.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a logical approach.
Yeah. You don't have to invest in something just because it's being offered, but the ones that do invest, it's because they have taken the time to get the knowledge.
Well, you see the opportunity.
Yeah. But they also have a background of knowledge about that area. They don't just invest in anything. If they don't think they have anything to offer that person that's coming to them with that proposal in terms of their background, in terms of their knowledge base and all of their connections, they step away from it because they know, I don't have anything that I can offer that's of value. The same thing comes in with cryptocurrency. If you want to get involved in this industry, the best thing to do is to start looking into information that gives you a base knowledge of how this thing works.
And what the real advantages of it are.
When I first got into this, I started reading. I started going online and I started picking up articles and I started watching YouTube videos to find out, how does this thing work? What is this? How does this work? What is it? I don't understand. What's mining? What's a blockchain? I started getting information. As I got more information, I became more at ease with what I was about to step into. I didn't invest first. I took the time to learn. Then as I learned, I got more and more comfortable about what it was that I was involved in. At that point, then I stepped over into buying it a small amount just to get started, just to learn the mechanics of how do I transfer my money from my bank account or from my credit card over into the exchange, and how do I then transfer that over into purchasing cryptocurrency, whatever one it was. But I started small, but it started with my getting some information.
You know what I like though about the cryptocurrency opportunity? Years ago when we were kids, you always heard about, I remember you had the piggy banks and you had those little banks, you put the slots in there and they told you how much money was there. You pull a little handle, and it was all about saving back when I was a kid. And you could save back then. I remember going to the bank with a little card. It was my passbook account.
Absolutely.
Remember that little passbook account?
I still got mine.
You still got yours?
I still got mine.
I'll be darned. And you'd write in there, you go to the teller, and you put down there what you were going to save today. And then she would tally it up, and then she'd say, oh, you've earned interest.
Yep.
And she put the interest in there.
Yep.
And so after a while, it would grow and grow. And years ago, when there was a decent amount of interest to be made, a person could actually become wealthy with one of the most basic things is frugality. Being frugal and saving and discipline, they could become very wealthy.
Over time.
Over time, because you'd save it and there was interest and you save it and then you have enough money to take in other opportunities that this wonderful country, the USA, has provided us. So that was a road to security and financial independence and wealth, right? Well, it's 2017. We've had every 7 years going back some type of a correction into the banking system and the mortgage system and the bubble and the this and the that. And anybody who had any money
is gone.
Is gone.
That's right.
It's sucked the life, and where that life is going is to bigger and bigger corporations and banks and everything else. But what crypto does for me is kind of like, it's our second chance. because it's a currency that's growing.
Exactly.
Exponentially growing in value,
Right.
and you could actually have a simple, disciplined strategy of saving, and it would start to grow.
Right.
And you can gain wealth without being fancy, knowing everything. You could
Right.
just do something incremental.
Just be disciplined enough to do it.
To do it and be incremental, and
Yeah.
you can make some amount of money in cryptocurrencies.
But the bottom line in that philosophy is that it has to be a vehicle that has an appreciating value to it. Because the old saying of, there's a saying that's out there that you cannot quote today, in today's markets, you can't save your way to wealth.
Not anymore.
You can't just simply put it in a bank account, and especially in a savings account. That's a joke.
Not in this.
You're not gonna do it with mutual
Hey, it's
funds.
been fixed.
Yeah.
The banks have got this figured out.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And so-
it's a fixed rigged system.
Yeah. So you have to have a product that is going to have
An appreciated
value that continues to grow. And as far as I have seen, I'm not saying I'm not knowledgeable on all investment vehicles out there by a long shot, but from what I've seen of watching this market over this last year, I have never seen anything as
Vibrant. Yes.
volatile, even though it has its spikes and things like that. When I first looked at this whole thing of cryptocurrency, initially it was under $500, and this was like 2 or 3 years ago. Okay, under $500, and I said, that's not going to last. That's going to phase out. That's going to fizzle out. It's not real money. I didn't know anything. So what was I speaking from? What knowledge did I have?
Exactly.
Zero. How much?
So he's giving more of an opinion.
That's all it was.
That's all it was.
And so as time has gone on, though, and I started started hearing more about cryptocurrency and finding some other things that worked, I said, let me check this thing out, because I heard about it several years ago, and it's still here. It hasn't gone away. It's only gotten more expensive, so to speak, to have it than it did when I first was introduced to it. So the thing is that what opportunity was given to me back then, had I operated in that opportunity then, there's no telling financially where I would be today based on what I could have done. So let's fast forward to today. You may be a person who was looking at this thing just like I was 2 or 3 years ago and didn't say, it's not going to last and everything.
Right.
But what you may have to look at is not today only, but what's going to be happening to this vehicle in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You look at the screen, you see where it's gone, okay? And so when I first looked at it, it was in 2014, okay? And that was high.
14.
That was high.
Yeah, it was
less
in the
than that when
hundreds.
I
It
looked
was
at
less
it
than
in
that, yeah.
2014.
That's 500%.
Okay, so now you see where it is today.
Yeah,
But,
it's more than even that.
Now there'll be graphics in the years ahead showing 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. You don't want to have to be one of the guys like I am, because man, I saw this thing in 2017. It was like $3,400, $3,500, $3,700. Now look at it where it is today. Who knows? I mean, there are those that are saying that it could be well over $50,000 a coin in the next 5 years.
You're talking more than that, Pat. They're talking 500,000.
Yeah, I mean, so stuff.
That's mind-boggling.
That's mind-boggling.
And I know, and that's
If
hard.
it's worth
hard to wrap your head
$50,000, if
that's-
it's worth
yeah.
$50,000,
Look at the return on that. That's hard to wrap your head around that in your own.
if you just had 5 or 6 Bitcoins that you got now at 3,500, you'll say you had $15,000 invested and you held on to it and it became 50,000. Look where you'd be.
Exactly.
You'd be at $500,000 before you know it.
Try to get that with your 401k.
Ain't gonna happen.
It's not going to happen.
Well, look, you can't even put but 12,000, 12 to 15,000 in the thing in the first place.
In a year anyway. It's
Exactly.
got all these regulations.
You got all these
to it.
regulations.
Exactly.
You know, we talked about that before. Okay, you're gonna buy Apple stock for what? I'm not against Apple, but I'm saying it's $1,000. So you got, after you got your 40 hours, you mean to tell me you got $1,000 you can throw into your 401k? The average person is not gonna do that, but you can turn around and put $100 in Bitcoin, and 3 months later it's $300 or it's $150. Well, it's still outdoing your still outdoing your 401k, and that's the concern of the banking stock exchange. They're concerned about the returns.
People figuring that out.
Exactly. So they're gonna start going from their 401k. So man, I take that $100 and put it into a Bitcoin.
Exactly.
You've got all these what do they call those? Multiple accounts that you
Mutual funds.
mutual funds. That's one.
Yeah.
Mutual funds. Did you realize mutual funds is a way to go broke?
Sure is.
I mean the fees. There's
Well, it's all fee. It's all fee based,
and that's where the J.P. Morgans of the world and the big banks of the world make their money. Is all those fees on those investments and those investment accounts, and you're going almost 2 steps forward and a step backwards. I mean. The money should be working for you, not just scraping by, giving you a little
it's working for somebody. It's just not working for the guys who are putting it in there. It's working for the guys who are the brokers.
And then these big upsets come along, and people have people have done the right. That's what ticks me off. People have done the right thing. They've invested wisely. They've been disciplined. They've sacrificed. And they get to where they got a $500,000 or $600,000 in there, and they think, I can probably take a little income and I can retire. But then one of these big corrections come by, and
you lose 40,000.
You at least or more.
Yeah.
You lose a couple 100,000 sometimes. Sometimes your portfolio's a little
wake
risky.
up and
If
say,
you've got a
"Man,
risky portfolio because you needed to put a lot in,
trying to get bigger
catch up.
returns.
Yeah. Bam! You get hit, and you got your $500,000 or $600,000 is $300,000, and you can't retire.
Well, what most people don't realize also about the 401ks that are out there is that the money that you put in there is going in there before tax. When you get ready to take that money out, it comes out based on the growth of that vehicle in those years that you had it. So when it went in there, it was tax free.
So it has a capital gains to it.
Right. So when you pull it out, now it's getting taxed. And plus, on top of that, are the fees that are being taken
just
by
to hold the money.
Just to hold it. So what people think they're going to have to retire on, when they look at their portfolio and it says $500,000 or $750,000 or whatever, they say, "Wow, this is great." But what they don't realize is the taxes that are going to be cleaning their clock when they get ready to start pulling it out. Plus the broker fees that have been accumulating all throughout those years are taking more of that money out. People don't realize how little they're actually going to physically have of that total portfolio when it comes time for their retirement. Then on top of that, they start calculating, one more thing, they start calculating, okay, I've got $300,000 left. How much money are you going to take out every month?
Then you got an income tax.
Well, on top of that, it says, how long is that money going to last you?
20 years.
You think it's going to last you for the rest of your life, but most people, as they start retiring and they start wanting to travel and all these things like that, plus the government's taking taxes out of that and the fees that are coming out of that, they start finding out what they thought they were going to have on a monthly basis to draw out is going to be a whole lot less than what they anticipated.
Weren't you telling me, we had wings one night, you were telling me about a guy that you met who at one point was very well off.
Yeah.
And had a good job, retired with a retirement program. And then somebody came along with a great idea for them to
get into reverse mortgages.
A reverse mortgage.
Lost their home.
Lost their home, and they're living in an apartment paying rent. And trying to pay for that out of the retirement that he has.
Exactly. Struggling.
Was
an executive.
Executive of a company.
Yep. And his whole world has changed. So that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But what all I'm saying is that what we think are safe vehicles,
safe havens
of what institutions are telling us today, you really need to do some homework, because there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that the average consumer is not aware of, that are going to be there as massive train wrecks down the road.
Well, here's the other thing, guys, nobody's talking about. Your retirement is a burden on you. It's not a burden on your employer. The burden of retirement is on the individual. That's why you don't see pensions and pension funds and all that anymore. That used to be your employer giving you money when you were retired.
And it was in a pool.
Exactly.
Right.
But that's been switched, where it's now up to you to prepare yourself for your retirement. It's not up to your employer anymore. Even though they went eventually set up the 401k.
The companies my dad
But you contributed. You got to contribute to that, and you participate in it. So that's the scenario. So like what we're talking about, guys, it's just coming up. There's got to be something that you can put your hands on, and something that you can understand, and something that you have to start doing. Your money comes from you. It doesn't come from. It comes from the actions that you do. That's how your money comes to you, the actions that you take on. And this is just another opportunity for us, for average Joe and average Jane, to take on, where they can actually do this. This could be another stream of income for people because they take $100 out of their savings account and put it into a cryptocurrency. I don't care if it's 90 days or a year, and see what happens to it. Start that way, and
you can start that way, like I talked about, incrementally. Right. But then there's another level. If you're the kind of guy that likes to do some investing and you enjoy the volatility and you can see and take advantage of that, you step it up and you can actually kind of hypercharge your savings by doing some trading. And there's a lot of cool platforms out there for that. There's companies that'll help you do that. There's mining operations you can get involved in. And so there's a lot of cool things on the horizon. And I think there's a lot of experimental things going on. So you got to be careful, because some of these experimental things can fold up, just like if you invested money in a company that was faulty, a business model or whatever. But I'm excited. I'm excited for us. I'm excited for our audience. I'm excited for Mom and Pop and Joe and Jane, the regular folks, because we have not had this kind of freedom financially until now.
Exactly.
Cryptocurrencies are creating an environment for us to have an opportunity that we have been stuck in a paradigm which was not really designed for us. Right. It's designed for the super rich. And this can be, anybody can do this.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And then, now don't get it wrong. We're not against being wealthy at all.
No.
Being rich. Rich people aren't
Rich
evil.
people can do good things.
Yeah, they do quite a good things, because most of us are employed by rich people.
Yeah, and rich people can do bad things.
They can
they're
do
just
bad
like
things,
anybody else.
Just like anybody else. But we're talking the other part that nobody's really paying any attention to when they look at Bitcoin. But guys, we've been talking about the technology that's behind Bitcoin. Is so powerful that most of the time it goes unnoticed. But those who are really in the game, they talk about blockchain, but most people have no idea what blockchain is and what it can do.
The disruptive
that's the true disruptor.
So disruptive.
Yeah, that's the true disruptor.
The way things are running.
Exactly.
Now.
And it's remarkable what it can do. And that's the thing that, just think about it, guys. There's really not much you do without the internet being involved.
That's right.
Even if you go to work, you use a computer, you pulling up some information or something that's related to the internet. And
information all comes through the internet.
It's all coming that way.
You do your banking today mostly through the internet.
Everything, one hand or another. The internet's hands on you, one way or another. And this is just another thing that we can't even put our heads around. Yeah. You can't even put your head around what we're talking about on a day-to-day basis: cryptocurrency, blockchain, and Bitcoin. It's so big that we can't even
get our arms around.
You can't get your arms around it, and that's the whole point. Even as big as governments are, they can't get their hands around this. That's the problem.
Well,
they can't put their hands around it.
You make me think. Let's take a look at this right here. There's here. Okay. There's a big deal going on right now in Russia. They don't know whether to like it or diss it. You got some people, Russia officially legalizes Bitcoin, but then somebody ain't happy about it. This gal here, she's not very happy. She's Janet Yellen in Russia. That's who she is. Yep. I can't. What's her name?
Elvira.
Elvira, yeah. She looks more like she could sport a Nazi uniform pretty good, huh? But oh, look at here. Looks like Vladimir Putin. He kind of likes Bitcoin. But anyway, there's just a lot of things going on in the news. We want to encourage you to look into the news of Bitcoin, but don't be intimidated by it. Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of news out there to get the information, and we've run out of time a few minutes ago, but we want you to subscribe.
Come check us out.
Check us out. Yeah. There's comment area down below this video. Go ahead and make your comments known to us. Mm-hmm. Get in touch with us. We've got websites and emails and all that. You can get in touch with us. And remember to subscribe. And also, there's a little bell next to the subscribe button. If you click on that, you'll get a notice. And we don't always broadcast the exact same time every week, sometimes we've had technical difficulties,
Right.
or it doesn't work for all. Today, it only worked for 3 of us to show up. Last week, 3 of us. Usually are 4 of us. And but we'd love you to tune in and tell us your thoughts, and we want to encourage you to check it out and to do some Bitcoin saving and investing, because it's the greatest opportunity that we've seen in our lifetime, and I know you'll enjoy it.
As Bill Gates said, Bitcoin can't be stopped.
No, it can't. So we'll sign off till next time, and remember to subscribe, and we'll see you on the other side.
All right.
Adios, amigos.
Bye now.